Hello there and welcome to part 3 of building every 2026 January Wave Lego Minecraft set in a micro form. This is not the final part, though we're building the last sets today. We are building the Ender Portal, Nether and End Portal Journey and the Wither Battle, which I'm so excited to build. The Nether and End Portal Journey seemed to be fairly easy, mainly because of the builds that we've got. I've already started work on a build for the Nether Portal. Yep, I mean, it's out of focus, but it's there. We have here the Nether Portal, which is just a window. There's not much more to it. Actually, there is stairs out the front. Maybe we can flip this around, make it look like we've got a few steps out the front. There's no frame that exists that has a bit of purple coloration to it. And I think this is going to be the easiest one to build because with this set, Nether and End Portal Journey 21584, we have a player, an enderman, and a piglet, not a piglin. Oh, I can't remember the name of this mob. Thankfully, Lego do have all the names in the description. A baby hoglin. Hoglin. I was thinking husk, that's the desert zombie. I was never going to guess hoglin. I think we'll start off with the player character, which is fairly straightforward to build. We've got the purple legs, similar to Steve. We've then got the light blue top and the black hair on top. Doesn't look like Steve, does look like a player character. And then next up, we'll go with the Enderman. You know what? No, we'll save the best till last. We'll go with the Hoglin. Hoglin? Baby Hoglin next, which is just a 1x1 with a clip which will act as those tusks that stick out the side of its face. And now we've got the Enderman, who's my personal favorite because rather than going with just like a 1x1 black brick and then a 1x1 black plate on top and a 1x1 black plate on top of that, I've included a snot brick, and that snot brick has a very special purpose. In the set, the Enderman is holding like a block of end stone, but Endermen all need to have a jar of dirt, or a block of dirt in this case. I've swapped out the end stone for some dirt. If you want to swap it for tan, it would be more accurate, but it has to be a dirt block. Even in the end, maybe it's teleported from the overworld. The side builds are really nice because we've only got two. We've got like a nether brick on top of some lava, and then we also have a little 4x4 section of end stone, just little decor pieces for the set, nothing too big. And because we're shrinking this down, a 4x4 block is a 1x1 plate, so that gives us a 1x1 tan plate with a purple plant on it and a 1x1 orange plate with a dark red brick, both of which are going to be very easy to build and are going to take 2 seconds. Here are the parts we are going to need, and by putting the purple plant on top of the sandy plate and the netherite brick on top of the lava, we're done. That was it. That's our side builds done. All that's left for this set is to do the end portal, but I'm assuming the Wither Battle is going to be a little harder to build. The end portal is built on a 5x5 brick base, which gives us the choice of a 3x3 and a 2x2, but I really need to think how we are going to get this done because I don't think there's an easy way to get the eyes around. So we could use like a tan 2x2 jumper, in which case we would need a 2x2 as opposed to a 3x3, and it also keeps it a similar size to the Nether portal, which isn't far off. Or we could use a 3x3 with like a tan plate on the outside. I think the best way of representing this tiny would be to use a 5x5, but that throws our proportion way out there and would be a struggle to fit both of that and the Nether portal on a 6x6 when we do eventually build the entire display. More on that at the end. So I'm thinking maybe we can connect 4 corner plates, blow it up to a 4x4, but get rid of the corners just so we can keep some of that Nether portal-ness intact. And hopefully it will still look like the Nether portal. It still won't take up too much space, and the whole thing would fit on a 4x4 other than a 2.5 by 2.5, but I think that's the best case scenario. I have spent so long trying to plan for the perfect end portal, and I'm so happy with the result. I have worked brackets in, I've tried to work jumpers. We actually do have a jumper in, but remember, all of this is built on a 4x4 plate. I think if we did use, I feel like jumpers is the way to get this all down onto a 3x3, but I also feel like some Lego bricks might have to be cut up and scratched in the process. So we're going to stick with this design, and if you have anything better, please do let me know in the comments, because though I'm really impressed with this, I know there's a way to get this shrunk down to a 3x3. That's including the end portal. We could just hover this over a 3x3 base. Anyway, let's take a look at what I come up with. So the base we're using is a dark bluish grey base. I think that works for the stony structure of a stronghold, not a stronghold, a stronghold, and the end portal's actually going to be supported on, yes, a 1x2 brick. This is for the back of the structure. It seems to be held up by some 3 brick deep structure on the official Lego one at least, and I feel like the stronghold is only supported at the back and the front. We're not using any translucent pieces to try and make it levitate. We want the underneath to be clear for that lava, which is a 2x2 plate. And this is why I've stuck with a 4x4 base, to get that 2x2 lava plate underneath, because I feel like 1x1, especially if the portal is going to be a 2x2, 1x1 just doesn't look big enough. There we go. 2x2 orange lava plate, and then in front of that I'm going to use a jumper to represent the steps, because if you take a close look at the steps, they're only half a block wide, which is impossible to do without a jumper. You can try to do it with the bracket, you can't get as accurate, and we'll just fill in the bottom with a 1x2 plate, just like so. To get the next step up, we want it level with a brick, and it's actually the reason I've used the brick, so that we could get another plate in there. Both of these steps are going to be 2 blocks high. It's a big jump, but stairs themselves do have that double step to it. So maybe we need to get like a half jumper, like a 1.5 plate. I don't know, that confused Lego too much. In the typical Lego fashion, we've got our steps, and now we're actually going to push this to the side. By the way, check out my display. I've tried to make it look at least a little bit like the official set in my layout. Hopefully you can see that. And for the end portal, we've got these 4 corner tan plates. You could try to get away with using like a 2x4 and a 1x2 plate. I don't think it's going to work for this, because all 4 of these are held together purely by this 2x2 black tile that goes in the middle. I almost attached these with 1x2s at the side as well, but I realize I have still a lot of these 1x1 rounded off dark blue tiles. I got these off the pick and build in Lego stores ages ago alongside some translucent ones, and though they don't have the green eye printed on top, not only do they fill the space perfectly, and the eyes are square in Minecraft as they are in the Lego set, it's actually a really nice ender pearl piece. But ender pearls themselves are, or eye of enders, which are made using ender pearls. I've gone for the more ender pearly, just dark blue. You could get some effects on there, but this whole base is now going to sit on top of the rest of the stronghold structure. And the Lego site's gone down again. It's been crashing a lot around this time as well, just after lunch. I don't know what's up with the Lego site. If any of you have been experiencing the same thing, let me know down in the comments. But at least whilst we wait for it to come back up, we can take a look at our first set. Here is the finished nether and end portal journey. I really like how this end portal has turned out. And when we add this to the build, I feel like, as well as creating some little back structure behind or to the side of the nether portal, maybe add some more lava to it, I'm gonna want to recolor the nether portal. I've been playing around between videos trying to find a way to color in that end portal, but a purple whiteboard pen hasn't been helping. It works for our Eve in the Minecraft TV, no, in the Disney TV, not the Minecraft TV, but it doesn't seem to be working for this nether portal. Maybe what I have to do is just print off a little purple design that could go well with it and get like a little decal on the front of it, a translucent purple decal should do the job. But for now, here is our nether and end portal journey, which is only $12.99, and to get those end portal pieces in a $12.99 set, it's very tempting to pick this one up alongside the Taiga Adventure, but by far this has been my favorite of all of the sets we've built in part 1, part 2, and whilst we're waiting for the Lego site to come back, part 4 is going to see me build a micro version of the Fox, which should be fairly straightforward and easy to do, and also to build a mini Biomes stand for these 6 sets. We've done the Taiga Adventure, we did the Chicken Farm, we did the Zombie Dungeon, and we did the Pal Garden. Today we're doing both the Nether and End Portal Journey, which will share a base plate, and the Wither Battle, which will stand back to back with the End Portal, so that we've got a little passage from the Stronghold into the Nether. And hopefully these fit very nicely together on a display. We will be adding each of these to a 6x6 plate to get this to fit in. Not sure about building it a underwater level. None of these happen to be near any sort of oceans and take up way too much space. Maybe we could build a little mine on the underneath and only have like 3 blocks wide. We'll have to see what I decide. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and let's jump ahead to the Wither Battle. It's back! We can finally take a look at the images of the Wither Battle. £60 set, the biggest so far. And we've kind of run into a problem straight away. If I take a look, we have built a skeleton. Which set was that? The Creakin. We built a skeleton which was just 1 brick. But the player skin in the same set was a black 1x1 brick. And Wither skeletons are slightly higher. They're not Endermen height, but they're slightly higher. So we've now got a black brick for a player, a 5 plate tall Enderman, and a 4 plate tall Wither. The Wither skeleton's going to be easy. That's just a 1x1 brick with a jumper on top. But I'm not sure how I'm feeling about the Wither skeletons. Likewise with the player character. It's a light bluish grey square with 2 dark bluish grey on top. I'm really tempted to replace all the characters with studs, because it does still set it aside from the landscape. This character's just going to look like a pile of rocks. So take a look at these. We'll swipe that set to the side for the minute. We have the baby Strider, then we have the adult Strider, and then we have the Magma Cube. This is a Pokemon evolution chain. What on earth are we looking at? I get it's a very simplified form. Maybe going forward, some of these mobs should just be totally left out. I do not want to miss any part from the set, but there's a reason Lego haven't made chickens, Striders, Magma Cubes and Slimes in this micro form, because they all would look the exact same. It fits for us. We have the official set images that we are shrinking down, but the other characters actually turned out really well. First off, the player character here, which is the same height as a giant Magma Cube. Well, this is like a medium one. I think it is actually the same height. 4 bricks tall. I think a figure is 5, just off being the same height. And then the Wither skeletons are definitely a little bit taller. So we've gone with the brick and the plate. I think that looks good. As for the Wither as well, having the jumper on top does look quite cool. We're going to have to make that fly somewhere around. But now taking a look at the actual set, we have a few problems when it comes to the build. Specifically, the smaller Wither heads are built on a 2x6 Lego or a 1x3 Minecraft block pattern, which means they're only 1.5 plates, 1.5 bricks wide. The end portal is probably the easiest place to start. For my end portal, I have got a 2x2 or 2 1x2 in the same like bluish greenish that we see in that section of the Nether, and then built the Nether portal similar to the others. We've added a grey step this time. Maybe could have even whacked a few jumpers in there, and then some torches on top, which I have attached this 1x3 using those 2 little holes into the gaps of the window, lined up just like so, and they fit perfectly on top of the Nether portal. But it's not going to be as easy to do the rest of the set. I've been thinking about that black runway, because that's like a 1x6, and then we could get a jumper for the end, because it's only 2 plates in that nice bluish greenish, and then a few different orange plates. Maybe what we could do is have a jumper at the end of a 1x6, then maybe a 2x3 in orange, and then expand that to a 2x5, and then that gives us 5 studs to build a wither head. We get a jumper in the middle, we get 1 stud in the middle, which would fit a 2x2 brick, and then maybe jumpers on the outside to do the exact same. Maybe what we could do is expand this to a 1x6 for the heads, but the outside wither heads are definitely a little bit smaller. I'm going to think on this for a while, get a bit more sorting around the Lego room, and then I'll come back to you once I've worked it out. I've got it. I was breaking down a set and I come across the 1x5 plate, and I realized that I think it was to do with how this plate was connected. I don't really remember, but rather than trying to build it off the ground, we could have the head of the wither slightly elevated, and we could also angle the heads at a slight angle compared to having them flat on. So I think I have a plan for how we're going to connect these parts. The only parts I've connected is that jumper on the end of the 1x6 so far. But this feels like it's going to work, and it's actually going to be one of the easiest builds out of all of them. I should have all the parts ready. The wither does look like it's laying down, so we have some sort of rib cage that are only 1 block wide. So we're going to ignore those, just like torches and any of the other smaller builds, and try to get it looking like this wither is laying down with its head up, but is laying down in a bed of lava with a few of the mobs spread out. The soul stand we will also be ignoring, because that's where I want to place the wither, by the head of the wither. I feel like that just makes sense. So let's get to the desk view and take a look at if this is going to work. My plan was to have a jumper which totally matches the same color as the nether portal. I don't know why you'd think otherwise. Totally the same color on the end of a 1x6, and have a 2x3 in orange, represent the first bit of a lava, and then a 2x5. A 2x5 doesn't actually exist, so instead of a 2x5, we've gone with a 2x3 and a 2x2. Both pieces we've used before in this combined build, but once we connect one side, it kind of disconnects from the rest of the build. So what we're going to have to do is connect these to the main build, and initially I was thinking easy, some slopes, maybe even the 1x2 with the slope coming up 1 and then the recessed plate. But there's a better way of connecting it, because if we have the neck floating, so initially my design was to put this underneath, but if we have the 1x5 floating on top instead, it gives us the space to have 2 streaks of lava, one on either side, just like so. This will connect the entire build. Actually, very hard and difficult to build flat on a surface, because there's nothing supporting the back of the neck here. Like I said, we want the wither to sort of be in a blanket of lava with its head sticking up. But now it gives us the 3 studs. To put more studs on, I'm using the black 1x1 round studs with the hole in the middle. That hole is very, very important. We're going to need that later on. Oh, there we go. That's not too bad. And then on top of each of these, we're going to want to build a head. I will say now, we want the middle head to be slightly higher. So let's go and put a 1x2 on that middle piece. We can push that aside, and for all 3 of the heads here, we're going to take a 1x2, grab 2 1x1s and another 1x2 on top. It's not as detailed as I would like for the head of these withers, but it is, I think, the closest we can get, because the 2-side wither heads have very, very small mouths, and they are basically 2 square blocks. They are 1, 2, 3, 4. They look to be 4 blocks tall, which is technically only 2 plates, but I feel like we need to make them a little bigger because of how big this build is getting. And we could have used 2 plates and just dotted on some eyes, maybe even a mouth. That would have worked. I've chosen to extend them actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bricks tall. I've chosen to extend them by 1 brick and make them 3 plates tall. We've got the main head in the middle, and then for the outside heads, we could tie them into the middle, but I'm actually going to put them 1 stud out and have them pushed a little further. Let's make sure the whole build is connected to look like the Wither build. This looks more like the Wither than it did before. It actually looks a bit wonky. Make sure everything's placed down firmly, and there we have our Wither laying in some lava. I do feel like it's missing something, especially around the rib cage. We could add some ribs. It depends how well connected our middle bit of the Wither is, especially between the 2x2 and the 2x3 plate here. We could add 4 1x1s in dark bluish grey. There are only 4 stacks that are tall enough to be seen. One's built into the neck of the Wither, and then we've got space for the Wither standing in front. Yeah, let's grab some tiles. Here we have the 4 ribs of the Wither skeleton build. I'm just going to place those between some of the studs. If I can flip this over and these ribs still stay in, I think I'm going to keep them. If any of them fall out, I think the easiest thing to do would be just to get rid of them and keep the rest of the build looking as it does. But actually, it seems that it seems like it's falling apart because of how fragile the head build is. But it does seem like the ribs are gonna stay in. So there are our ribs to the 4-pack of the Wither. We have the Wither skeleton will be standing right in front of the Wither face as it does, obstructing it in the build. We have the player characters actually coming through the portal, so they kind of fit into that scene. We have the magma cube this side of the lava. There we go. The Strider the other side. The baby Strider is going to be a hard one to try and position, because the baby Strider is between 2 of the ribs, and I mean it fits. Oh, it's a legal technique. There's enough friction between these 2 tiles to hold a plate. Who would have guessed that? And then we'll have 2 Withers perhaps running down the edge, maybe running towards the Wither, who is there, like Overlord or something. But there we go. There we have the Wither battle, which actually turned out a lot better than I expected. I don't know what I was expecting, but I obviously wasn't expecting something as good as that. And then the end portal and nether portal, which we have a little bit at the end, a little bit of the nether here. But we do have 3 characters to try and position. I guess the husk would be in the nether. That makes sense on that piece there. The character can be on the side of the portal. What we could do is have the character going to the end. The Enderman can be included in a wider spot, but if we want the character to be going to the end on the top here, maybe the character's even brought back a little bit of the end. The Enderman can be chilling to the side. I'm going to swap out this tile for a stud. And though they're quite clearly different elements, because that stud is missing a little bit of something underneath the bottom, you won't be able to see it under the character. So I think it hides the fact really, really well. And there we have, part 3 is complete. So for part 4, I'm going to be building the microbiomes display, adding all of this and maybe even working the fox into it somehow. And I think I know, looking at all these on the desk, exactly how this is going to come together. But before we take a look at these all spread out on the desk, I first want to show you them because, well, we're going to take a look at them in a second. But the last 2 have had a very top-down camera, so you haven't seen them at this angle. And I think they're going to look even better. There we go, all 6 playsets. We have Steve's Taiga Adventure furthest left. That's the set that I'm definitely picking up in January. We have the Chicken Farm, which is quite a cool one, with a chicken jockey out the front, the Creep-In, followed by the Zombie Dungeon with the Hazmat Suit player. We have the End and Never portal, and then finally the Wither battle. You've seen both of them today. And looking mainly at the Zombie Dungeon here, you can see there's surface level, then there's like a first mine and a second mine. So each of the sets on the left should be raised by quite a few bricks to get up to that level, and that gives us enough space underneath for a little nether. Maybe rather than having the end portals on the far right, the end portals can stay on the left, and I quite like the idea of bleeding it through. It will work better for the night sky, but maybe it's not the nether. This is already on like a 6x6 base. Actually, it's exactly a 6x6 base We might even have to move the head slightly forward a little bit, but they can be rotated and flattened out towards the back. So that's on. Oh, that's actually not a 6x6. That's an 8x6. 8, 9, 10, 11 with that portal taking up most of the 12x12. And this end portal can go underneath the other 6x6 sections. It gives us one more space for a little build of some sort, and I'm tempted to add like a micro warden in there. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see. I will try to incorporate all of the comments into part 4, which will be coming out in probably over a week. I don't know how quickly I'll get that done, but I promise part 4 is on its way by the end of the year. I'm really enjoying this project. If there are other, maybe next year for the next Minecraft wave, we can shrink down those sets and have a whole series going, because this has been a ton of fun. But that is all for today. I've been building for hours. I'm gonna go sort out a few more parts before I have to leave, and check out another video on screen now. Till next time, and may the bricks be with you always.